Yeah, yeah. Same old time real crazy. I told y'all you don't need to tell y'all niggas. Walk around with a phone and then I told him some big I'm gonna need her. With 5 on my back, say camera, back, say touch on it. I feel like I'm fish on this. I ain't never seen bad bitch game on me. And I ain't reading that thing, I don't see you. I ain't walk on the top, no need her. I'm the greatest, I told her I need her too much. I'm sorry, but it's bad, yeah, I need her. Fuck from real to the bitch, I'm short. Right on that hoe, you won't roll like a dick. I be there go, I serve her back. Bitch think I need her. I be that nigga come in, so I walk too much, so I told her I keep it tall. What am I buzz? What am I bitch? Yeah, I need it. I freestyle up the top, just a song I'm right, just something I don't need them at all. No, I feeling good like a dub. Just shawty talking crazy, come on, some bitch and tell like a nub. Yeah, yeah. Shawty your man tryna fall. I feel real good tryna come here, I be so bitch tryna dub me. Hey, all of my tests, got my vibe, before my wrist, get in my lap, fucking too much, tired of those side. As it came, so I laugh. Over much, body can miss it, doing too much. Fuck with the business, tell them enough. You gon' face it. Go for my ass, I'm on my list, on the top of my ass. I kept moving, so you kept me relaxed. Thought I'm doing too much. I would've missed it, I had too much. Felt like a drug, yeah. Shawty gon' feel like a slug, and I know she need me. I told her I walk real crazy, she walk over like a does, yeah. Stop for real, every my man, I told him this, how to deal. Hey, I don't need shawties, I need me some dog, man. I be a chopper on me, so I pray out to Jesus, you know that I need me some gold, yeah. Doing too much, doing too much, doing too much, doing too much, yeah. Fuck with a slut, fuck with your niggas, fuck with a nigga, fuck with your baby, I did it too much, I had a meeting, I had pulled up on this, and she don't like me, cause she said I got me a demeanor, but I'm just walking, showing, I be YoungFreezy, job would be clean, I know she need me too much, so I serve her back, I serve that bitch like a leaf, never talk to me, bitch for the waist, chopper keep me too much, so I walk real crazy, tell her not to spit on my face, I'm a real guess that they think this a lie. I know she back, she money, she rich as a daddy. I'm from give her the style like her. Hey, don't do too much, don't do too much. I be that nigga come in, so I tell her I walk my struts like her. All like a son, all like a 40, all like a gun. Where that pay? Hey, I sound like a ring and walk with it just so I got all the packages done. But baby, I do not need you, I play Ram on the field, and I play Ram on the business. So little baby, I came here and walk with it still like her. You think that I need you, baby? I ain't tryna beg, you ain't tryna kick, but just show you that I'm ready for more. And I came here and walk with a competition, shorty mad cause I told her that ain't no fiction. My life is so real, and I told her don't listen like she just a goofy, I don't get the dance. And shawty love me too much, baby. She said that she needs me, but baby, I don't get the messing at all. If I had something to don't tell you, but you always that you just a little hoe. When I don't see nobody, I know you're just a little hoe like her. What the fuck with that? All time for my face. All my time for my age. All my time for my money. She ain't gonna talk to my face. I don't need nobody, I just need butters, keep me out to show me no raw. I started cooking in the stove. I told her, little baby, I needed some more. I know I'm there, I know I'm gifted. I try to tell them that I'm hot. And I know I needed some more, so I told her I'm rapping like 50. I need to go out like 7 in pain. Told her ass, try to lay back. Walk on ahead. I'm tryna come crack, tryna come show. This year's a little baddie, she look thick like a snake. I need a nigga my top on bag, you not really need it, she need it bad like no. The chopper gon' rain, the chopper gon' sing, the chopper gon' bang, the chopper gon' let them off with them rain. Drop getting out, so I told him it's too much. Fuck on rest, so I'm walking my team straight. If she need me, she still gon' say, yeah. Fuck him, he a goofy. I came from the nada. I came from the nada like. What y'all wanna do? Come here. Come here. Look goofy. I'm in the mirrors on top. Fuck that bitch. Yeah. Her name was Jules. I had a bad bitch. She kinda bullshit. I know my life was dope and then I'm moved. I started changing cause you know the feds started stopping on me coming in from the moon. I came in so I rap like a Uzi. I came in and I'm rap cause I'm chosen. I came in and I rap cause I'm really master the pathetic blue. Yeah. Fuck them all. Fuck on your guy. Fuck on the shawty cause she act good. Fuck on the shawty cause I need to ride like her. I feel kinda sick. My body is aching. I don't feel shit. Don't feel shit like. When I throw up for real. When I throw up for real. Like a right. And the guys on my jail like. I'm on wrong move.
I didn't learn that from rap, but surprise, right? I bring that up not lightly. Rap teaches a lot. It's one of the most ultimate teaching tools. Teaches you how to dance, teaches you how to dress, teaches you how to talk, teaches you how to walk, teaches you how to think. It's ridiculously capable, right? Can also teach you how to kill people, teach you how to sell drugs, teach you how to die, teach you how to go to prison, right? Teach you how to survive in prison. It can teach you politics, right? Teach you who to vote for. It's a teaching tool, right? How many people intentionally use it as that? How many people just do it for fun? How many rappers in here? For fun, right? For money? Money and fun, there we go, right? He didn't say teaching. Because unfortunately, most rappers don't know how.
I really easily.
Right? We live by a phrase at Sosa that rappers know how to do it, but they don't know what they're doing. Because rap was never formally trained. It was never put into an institution. And all of these things like this, you didn't have to take a test to become a rapper. Your test was, does it work at the strip club? Which is the Atlanta formula. For real. Does it work at the strip club? That is the test for rap. I don't care how you got there, but can you have that effect? Can you teach strippers to dance? Right? That has its place. Right? But rap has so much potential. Right? So if you come to the class, you're gonna be doing this shit. We're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna make it fun, but we're gonna be doing this. That's a warning to the students out there who thought you was finna be in here making strip club music with Lupe Fiasco. We're gonna be reading white papers about surprisal and then teaching you how to do that with intention. So you can really elevate the power of the craft, right? And really use it as a teaching thing. Because if you do it successfully, guess what? My mans, you'll make more money and have more fun. Because you'll have more followers. Because more things will go viral. You create deeper relationships, associations, parallels, and surprises. Right? Here's another one. Surprise! We still on surprise. Surprise is evoked just to give you a little sense of what it is, right? That stuff was kind of descriptive. This is what it is, how it works. Surprise is evoked by unexpected schema discrepant events. And its intensity is determined by the degree of the schema discrepancy, right? How far off is this from normality for you, right? That's how big the surprise is. Unexpected events cause an automatic interruption of ongoing mental processes that is followed by an intentional shift and attentional binding to the events. It's like, oh, what is that? Oh, what's that? Right? Which is often followed by causal and other event analysis processes and by schema revision. Schemas are kind of worldviews, kind of conceptual frames, cognitively, how you view the world, how you pursue through it, right? And run after purpose, right? You do that in certain ways, in certain paths, based on what your kind of fundamental schemas are. These schemas are constantly being changed as you interface with different types of information and different types of experiences, people, places, right? So that's why you have to be careful what you listen to. Be careful who you listen to and where you go. Because unconsciously, your brain is changing, right? And not necessarily your neurons or like neuroplasticity and stuff like that, that happens, but on the front end, just the way that your schemas change, right? Story time, repetition, break, plot, structure. Here's a tool of how you can use surprise. Let's bring it back down to earth. Let's come out the white papers. Right, let's take it to the streets. Are you in a gang? You in a gang? No? I'm just asking if you was in a gang. You got a lot of blue there, I'm just making sure. Nice sweater, I like it. Don't wear that out west, though. You know. I'm just joking. Shh. Once upon a time, 3 little pigs. First pig builds his house out of straw. Big bad wolf comes. He says, I'll huff and I'll puff. Little pig, let me in. Little pig says, not by the hair on my, right? Wolf is like, yo, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. And he goes, blows his house down, right? So that little pig runs to his other homie's pig's house, right? Which is made out of sticks and little pig, let me in, not by the hair on my, the call and response. See the power of story? See how I just made you do that? Why did you do that? Right? I've been in front of millions of people that I've never met before. And have been doing all kinds of things. Right? Consciously, unconsciously. That's power. Be careful, rappers.
I don't want to be like that. I remember pussy.
I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. He huffs, he puffs, he blows, house down. Right?
Nice, I really needed that.
Those 2 little pigs go to the third pig's house. His house is made out of... No, it's made out of a carbonite material.
They used a lot on me, brother. It's a lot. That shit was cakewalk when they used everything on you.
At least here, that material would be made out of that. It would be made out of nuclear energy or something like that. It's made out of bricks. And he knocks. Little pigs, let me in, not by the hair on my... Y'all still saying it, why? Oh, dude.
Stop listening what you want to do.
Jab it.
This ain't what you want.
No, I'll huff and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down. He blows. What happens?
You bleed like
Repetition, break, plot structure is what happened.
Think like a motherfucker.
It was a break and a repetition,
Got it ready.
right? First pig did a thing, wolf did a thing, the thing happened. I'm like, all right, cool. Chinny, chinny, chinny. Right?
Thanks, bitches.
Next thing, pigs do a thing, wolf does a thing happens, same thing happens. Chinny, chinny, chinny. Right? Go to the third one, oh, they do a thing. Surprise! Nope. Can't blow on these bricks. Right? Repetition, break, plot, structure. Where have we seen this?
Crazy damage, my buddy.
We've seen it. I know you've seen it. Everybody's seen it. You've seen this in rap. Verse hook, verse hook, verse. Is that really, you know, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, that's, maybe. So it's not really a macro, right? It's not some rap macros that act like that, but not really. It happens musically, it happens in Beethoven, right? Training, habituation, divergence. Has the same kind of effect, right? Training, same, different, right? Similarity, divergence, right?
Top of my head, like the verses in Gold Digger, where like the first two are from the perspective of the guy, then the third one flips it, and it's from the perspective of the girl, who portrays the original narrator as the villain. It's
The greatest example of that is this. Stan. Right? Anybody aware of Stan? Anybody not aware of Stan? Anybody not
perspective of the guy, then the third one flips it, and it's from the perspective of the girl, who portrays the original narrator as the villain. It's
The greatest example of that is this. Stan. Right? Anybody aware of Stan? Anybody not aware of Stan? Anybody not blown away by this list? Don't know what this means? Stan is probably Eminem's greatest record, right? Arguably, hands down, probably Eminem's greatest record, right? The song is about a fan. It's where we get the word stan from, right? Anybody got any stans in here? I got a couple stans. I have a lot. I'm a stan of you. Yeah, I do. I appreciate that. There's a stan reciprocity going on right here. Hey, stand by me. The song is about a fan who writes Eminem a letter. And he's writing this letter. Dear Marshall, right? He writes a letter in the first verse. Then he goes and he writes a letter in the third verse. And the second verse, I apologize, right? Writes another letter to Eminem. This one's a little bit more kind of aggressive, a little bit more, you owe me something type vibe. He does the third verse. Third verse isn't a letter per se. It's a recording. And this fan of Eminem, he's recording himself kidnapping in true Eminem fashion, this guy, his girlfriend, and doing this weird kind of murder-suicide plot. And he's recording this thing to Eminem. And then at the end of the verse, of that third verse, he comes to the realization, like, we're gonna drive this car over this bridge. He's like, oh, shit, how am I going to send this out? Right? But that's not the plot twist, is it? For the stands of Eminem who know, right? That's not the plot twist. But that's great. He could have stopped right there. But there's a fourth verse, right? Kind of breaks this 1-1-2 structure, this 3, this trifecta, this tricolon. It's like 1-1, then the twist. He does 1-1-1 twist. And the twist is Eminem finally receives the letter from the first verse, right? And he sits down to respond to it. He says, "Dear Stan, I appreciate that you got all my records, right? I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you. I was on tour. Hey, man, I hear you going through a lot. Hey, just, chill out. You'll be all right." And then Eminem, as he gets toward the end of the verse, he said, sometimes people do crazy things. Like there was this guy who got upset, and he took his car with his girlfriend, and he drove it off a bridge into the water, and Eminem has the epiphany, like, oh, shit, it was you, right? The layering and the complexity, right, of how he worked, right? That repetition, plot, break structure, right? Masterful, right? Taking a very simple concept that we all learned when we were kids, because we all knew chinny chin chin, right? So it's very, very simple macros, right, that we all can process and all have been privy to, but then how do we turn around and use that in our work as rappers, right? Very basic things. Instead of trying to do a bunch of details, right? A bunch of word flips and name flips and multiple syllable blah, 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 blah. Am I rapping and tapping and hitting it, right? Okay, that's cool, right? Well, can you master these basic things? And then the argument becomes, Stan is one of the highest selling records of all time in any genre of music, right? To the point where the name of the song entered into common vernacular. The power of rap, right? On par, right? On par, culturally, with E equals MC squared, right? On par, right? And other kind of catchphrases from different fields, science, social sciences, archaeology, whatever you want, history, right? Stan is right there. Right? Janila Forever is a song that I wrote. It's about a little girl, true story. Her name was Janila. She was 6 months old. She was murdered in Chicago. She was shot about 6 times. The gunman was trying to kill her father in retaliation for stealing a PlayStation. He didn't know that Janila was sitting on the lap. He just ran up to the car and started shooting. Mr. Father hit her 6 times, a 6-month-old baby. Destroyed the city, right? I was like, I need to make that a song right now. And the song was about Janila growing up, going to school, being really smart, going to school, going to med school, becoming a doctor, instead of going to work at, let's just call it, I don't know, MGH, whatever the hospital is. She goes to open up a free clinic in the neighborhood in which she grew up in. And then one day, she's in the office, she hears some gunshots outside, and then she runs outside to this van and gets this little girl, triages her, stabilizes her, so the paramedics can come, and eventually she's saved, saves the little girl. She doesn't realize that she just saved herself.
Don't you trust me?
Right? Repetition. The twist, power of that, the surprise. All surprises don't have to be good surprises. They can happen in, they call it valence. It could be somewhat sad, right? Doesn't have to be, but a little glimmer of hope in there. Doesn't change the situation, but it's cathartic, it helps. Yeah? Sing About Me, Kendrick Lamar. To me, one of his greatest record. Just the first verse, where he's singing about a guy, rapping about a guy who was in the streets and was involved in some violence. And he does it a different way. So I say it, I reveal it. You know, bet you didn't know you just saved yourself. Eminem reveals it with words. He says, oh shit, it was you. Kendrick and his genius. He's writing a letter in the person as if he's this guy, and he's like, hey, if I live to see your album come out, do. You just hear a series of gunshots. Then the verse stops. The beat keeps going. So the guy, he dies. Right? If I live to see your album come out, I just want you to do. Right? Repetition, plot, break structure. In the class, we study this. Right? We'll take examples. We'll set up a theme. We'll say, okay, we're going to talk about surprise. We're going to talk about a very specific type of surprise and how to utilize it and execute it. And we'll use this particular frame. Right? We'll start with Three Little Pigs, and then we'll end on Kendrick Lamar. Right? And show you different ways to navigate and assess, and then hopefully accomplish that process in your own work. And you can talk about whatever you want. You can talk about Three Little Pigs if you want, right? Just has to rhyme. You know, that's the only thing I ask, and it has to be to a beat. There's more. It's not just surprise, right? I call them primes, because I like to sound smart, mathematical, but fundamental rap primes. We just went through surprisal, and there's different ways, there's different mechanisms, there's different approaches to generate surprise. Right, to navigate through it, right, to process it. The hope would be the same way that you did the acronym for rap, you do that for surprise, right? You look at this thing, you look at this word, the single concept, and you approach it from all these different angles and ways to try and hack it, right? Come up with new, novel, surprising ways to surprise, right? Maybe it's do it in a group, right? Do a little think tank, right? Do a little something, figure out different avenues to generate that. Rhyme is another one. Metaphor, tone, and then et cetera, right? We can do this all day, right? All of those very, very fundamental, very, very powerful things that we interface with on a daily basis are just kind of sitting dormant in rap, waiting to kind of be explored in a very methodical, very classical way with the goal of creating new work, right? Not old work, new work. In order to create new work, we have to advance some of these primes or rethink them in fundamental ways with the new knowledge or the new perspectives that you as a younger generation have, that I don't possess. Yeah? Yeah? Cool. That is the name of the class for MIT undergrads. It is also open to Harvard, Wellesley, and Mass Art in terms of cross-registration. So if you're interested, you are a student of any of those schools, you know somebody that's in any of those schools, they're more than welcome to apply. That is the course number, special subject, CMS S60, Rap Theory and Practice. It'll be up for pre-registration tomorrow, actually. And then outside of this, one of the conundrums that me and Doc IT have been trying to solve is making sure that the community of not only Cambridge but Boston-wide and beyond those are able to participate in the course and in the class in some capacity. So the syllabus will be up if you want to follow along. 9 times out of 10, we will be working with OCW, which is open courseware here at MIT, to at least record it There's other things that we're thinking about. And primarily, we still want to hold sessions like this. So talks that are open to the public, open to the grad students, open to faculty, open to staff, anybody that wants to come in and kind of address and run through these in a different way. For folks that are interested in taking a class, want to have a little bit more information, you will be rapping and recording in the class. Your final project is an EP. I will fucking fail you. Right? I will. I so will fail you. My name is Fiasco, so that is a failure. And I have no problem sharing you with myself. No, but I do want you to take it seriously. You don't have to know how to rap. I'll teach you. But you will be expected to rap, and you will have rap assignments that you have to turn in, okay? So if you're afraid, or if that's a challenge for you, I cordially invite you. So it's a wonderful experience. I've taught this before, so I know it works. But yeah, so that's just a little information on the class. If you're interested in going through some of those white papers about surprise, this is it's a body of papers called The Ubiquity of Surprise, Developments in Theory, Convergent Evidence, and Implications for Cognition. And it goes from computational, like actual computer science, all the way to cognitive theory, to basic, even more kind of theories and applications, a way to approach surprise. And it's in a journal called Topics, which is Topics in Cognitive Science. And it's online, Wiley Library, for those who are kind of astute. But you'd be able to, if you're looking for it, that is the bundle of papers if you want to continue on. Yes! There is an tournament. I play There's a few other people who play in this room. Maybe you don't know what is, but now's your time to do the thing with the phone. Maybe you'll pick it up, maybe not. Or you can go to playr.org. It's something that we started here at MIT not too long ago, the Société Internationale de It is the governing body, the only governing body for in the world. I did it when I was finishing my syllabus because I got bored. And now we're throwing our first tournament at the BSU, the Black Student Union, in Walker. And it is Friday, 5 o'clock. It is $10 to register, but there are sponsored slots for the Brokey Brokes. And there's a $250 first prize. So come have some fun with us. There'll be staff there, there'll be students there. It's a great, we've been playing for a month. So if you're interested, there's that. And then, thank you. Appreciate your time coming out in the weather, in the rain, and I hope it added value. And we'll leave the balance of the time for questions or insights or follow-ups or hate mail, which I also will take. Confrontations, fights, you want to throw hands, I'm here for that. But yeah, so appreciate you all. Hope it added value.
Write the song Hip Hop Saved My Life.
I mean, because it did. A lot of my friends are dead. So, I mean, it did, you know. I'm sure that I would have survived, you know, but it preserved the life that I wanted to lead, right? There's multiple lives. We lead a different life every day, multiple lives in a day, right? But which life do you want to lead the most? You know, and hip hop gave me the tools and the opportunities, proof is in the pudding, to live the life that I want to live. Yeah. Hip hop also kills a lot. You know, so there's this weird dichotomy and this balance that we're trying to do. The song itself was homage to Houston, Texas, though. To the rap, to the scene, the hip hop scene in Houston, Texas, which I was a huge fan of the artist. It's actually kind of loosely based on the life of Slim Thug. And if you see the video, you see like Bun B in there, you see a few other cats from Houston in there.
I
And yeah,
know
it's an homage to that scene. I thought they were
I
superheroes.
can't
Like when I look
watch
at
you
Houston rappers, like
bleed.
mouths all iced out,
I
the
can't
swag, the whole. I
watch
was like, oh, these dudes like Paul Wall and all those guys. So it was an homage to them. But the
Floyd.
message overall was,
the
you know, it does save lives if you let it. You know, if you wanted to.
50 minutes.
First off, I want to say thank you, Lupe, for being here and one, sharing your art throughout the years. Really appreciate it. My question is actually regarding just your philosophy for learning. I spent a lot of time listening to your podcast during the pandemic, and one thing I really appreciated was hearing how you talked about your father and how he knew just a lot about everything. And I think as someone like you know a lot about everything as well too. So I was just curious to hear about your philosophy for learning and how you approach new things each day.
I mean, I love learning, man. You know, I love it. We have nothing else to do. You know, part of it is everything materially that I've ever wanted, I have. You know, everything experientially to a degree I've experienced. And that's not to like humble flex or anything like that, but it's like the only thing left was to learn, you know. So I come to school every day. I didn't go to college, right? So this is my freshman year, and I'm treating it like my freshman year at MIT, right? And so I just go to my office every day and read white papers, you know. And people come by and they drop off books. They say, hey, do you want to go to the lab? And I'm in there just like a freshman, just in there doing transformations and pipetting shit and reading through kind of historical monographs and all types of other craziness. And I've been doing that since I was a kid. I've been reading this, like, my sister's legend about me is that I used to just read the encyclopedia, you know? And I think even just through rap, I want to talk about other things. I don't want to talk about the same old rigmarole. I want to talk about different things, novel things, surprising things. And it requires kind of extending yourself, opening yourself up to other conversations, right? To other knowledge bases, to other ideologies, even if you disagree with them, right? And I look at my track record, and I've made records about nuclear weapons. I've made records about Houston, Texas. I've made records about skateboarding. I've made anything that I could, you know, that spoke to me, I pursued, and pursued it deeply, right? And even me being at MIT, part of this is like, yeah, I'm gonna teach some of the things that I know, but I'm really here learning more than I'm teaching, you know, because I want to get deeper into, you know, surprise, you know, I want to get deeper into rhyme, I want to get deeper into rhythm, I want to get deeper into other things. So I'm just constantly learning, never stop learning, right? Because you don't have a choice. That's the real thing. You're always gonna learn. So you might as well be very intentional about the things that you want to learn, and then be very intentional about how you want to operationalize and submit those learnings in your own life. Yeah? So.
Which idea did you have first? The song The Cool or the album The Cool? And what was your inspiration behind it?
The Cool started out, my mentor is Cornel West.
What's up?
Dr. Cornel West. And him, Tavis Smiley, I want to say Dr. Dyson, Michael Eric Dyson as well. They were doing like this speaking tour kind of randomly, right? And I don't know if it was part of like this state of Black America. It was something like just very just interesting. They would go to these theaters in different cities and they would just sit up there and be smart, right? And Cornel West said, we have to find a way to make the things that are harmful uncool and make the things that, you know, are good cool.
Hopefully that boy died.
And it was like, bing, I gotcha. Right? And that became the initial point, right? A command was given by one of the elders, you know, to the artistic class who spoke to the youth with a mission to make those things uncool. And I went, right? And then the whole process, you might have seen some of it play out here, the whole process of, okay, what do we do? What is the most immortal story that persists through all culture? Right? What is that trope that just never dies? Zombies. Right? Thriller is one of the biggest records in the world. And I was like, oh, zombies. Oh, yeah, zombies. right? So I'm gonna turn the cool shit into a zombie. Rotting flesh, you know, like all of those trappings. But I'm gonna do it through a frame so that it sticks and it stays, right? And it's my most popular album. It's my highest selling album, right? And so there's something to that, oh yeah, being very intentional about that work and how you do it. And then it was just putting other pieces to it, building out the storyline with the streets and the game and putting them in the narrative and having them play against each other and creating these different ideologies and then pulling in these different concepts of the cool. A lot of it was Miles Davis, the birth of the cool. So it's like he did the birth of the cool, I'm gonna do the death of the cool. I can die, right? So a lot of those decisions were very intentional to speak to history so that when questions are asked like that, I can say, oh, there was a little influence from Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool. Have you ever heard that album? Have you? Yeah, now you're gonna hear it now. Yeah, so indeed, right? Learning moments to help build into your own craft, right? But if you don't have that type of intentionality with how you learn, and how you operationalize the things you learn, then you won't be able to pass those things along, right? What's up, Ian? Professor Condry?
Great talk. Thank you so much for tonight. Yeah, so about surprise, one thing so interesting about it is it keeps changing, right? There's no, the old surprise, I was thinking, back in the day, breakdancing, look, he's spinning on his head. And now it's like, oh yeah, it's breakdancing. Look, he's scratching a record. Oh my God, what's that? And then it's like, oh yeah, he's scratching a record. Are there things that you've noticed lately in sort of how hip hop's evolving and say, oh yeah, I thought there was nowhere to go, but now this surprised me, or because we're already used to all this other stuff. Like, for you, what's a new frontier for surprise?
Devolving, right? There's a de-evolution taking place, right? And that's surprising because hip hop was all about evolution, right? It was all about multiple forms, and that still exists. And I don't want to take away from that, but it's devolving content-wise, or if it's not devolving to that degree, it's super adapted to the point where it has no other place to go, and it's starting to become complacent, and it's setting itself up to get overthrown, and that is surprising. And so what I look for is what is the thing that's coming next to disco hip-hop, right? Right? Punk got disco out of there a little bit. Then like rock and roll and hip hop kind of got punk out of there. Now hip hop is doing and rap is doing some of the same things that those genres, which are still there, but they're calcified, right? And they're kind of being pulled from maybe an electronic music or this, that, and the third, but as a genre leading type thing, or a genre in and of itself where people are still, Giorgio Moroder is like, I mean, he did the Daft Punk piece, but it's like, maybe that counts, but it's not everywhere, right? But maybe it is. We'll have that conversation later, right? But I feel like that's what's happening, right? I feel like there's a paradigm shift that's about to happen, and that some of that ultra-violence, right, is contributing not only to the death of the artists themselves, but to the death of the genre, right? Because it's starting. It used to be surprising to hear somebody say, "I'm gonna kill such and such," right? It's like, oh my God.
What you scared of?
He said, "You gonna kill such and such." Did you hear that? Cut that music off, boy. Now there is no alternative, and you can't cut the music off, right? It can't be that stopgap. It's too democratic. So anyway, that's what I think it is. But in terms of rap itself, I really, as you know, I really enjoy Japanese hip hop. It's always interesting to see the new artists that come out of these places where you don't expect it. I expect it because I know the history, but it's still interesting to see how they're taking the forms that are coming out in the new generations and then processing it, right? And then giving their kind of cultural spin on it. So yeah, appreciate you. Yo.
What's going on, boss? Appreciate you for the night. So I got two questions. The first one is really light. It's it's more so about the class. Like, what's the process for a tough student, particularly a tough graduate student, if they wanted to register for this class? And then the second one is, in light of what you kind of discussed, it kind of like sheds light on the morphing or the appreciation of rap as an art and a science. So what's your process for writing, particularly in periods where you might have a block of some sort in your writing?
I don't believe there's such thing as writer's block. We've had some interesting conversations in SOSA about that. Some very, very interesting kind of, like, there's a physical thing that is supposed to represent writers. It's very interesting. But anyway, I don't believe in writer's block. I believe that, like, there's some times where you just shouldn't write. I do believe that. Like, put the pen down, my guy. You know, go experience. Maybe you take that as a signal for you need new experiences, right? I don't necessarily believe in writer's block because I have such a fascination with the base of word, right? Maybe this is a lesson for you. If you're experiencing writer's block, maybe there's something to you asking that question because you got writer's block, right? Like, I fell in love with words, you know, in the same way where you can go back and analyze and assess just stretching vowels in the same word, very basic things, and pull out new meanings, if not new semantic meanings, new kind of structural kind of presentations or new sonic ideas that come out of that, you know. And just work with the material that's there until something comes up of interest, right? That's not necessarily a block, like you're working, right? If that's what you're doing, right? If you're just kind of like keep trying to throw bars and gather all these punchlines and be as witty as you can, and you're coming up with weak-ass punchlines. There are a bunch of weak-ass punchlines, you know? I come up with silly, dumb punchlines like, nope, no. But then I also come up with a little fire thing here and there. But a majority come up with is concepts and ways to approach a particular concept, as opposed to like, I need this bar to be dope because I want to sound like I'm on URL with every verse. And it's like, nah, you know, just enjoy words, you know, enjoy the feeling that you get when you have a novel idea. And you get that cascade of dopamine, and it's like, oh, lovely. Okay. You got it. Booyah, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Lupe? Firstly, thank you for coming. Huge fan. So I was going to ask you two questions. The first question was just asked in regards to how do you approach writing? You know, do you come in with a freestyle? But you just talked about that, so I'll go on to my second question, which was, what's your perspective on redrafting something you've already written or perhaps something you've already recorded?
I mean, I draft in real time. I edit in real time, right? So as I'm writing, I'm editing, right? And there's some things that I won't, depending on what what I'm writing for, right? If I'm just writing for the joy of writing, then you don't edit because you're writing for whatever comes out, and you're writing things that feel good to you, right? If I'm writing to sell some records, it'll be different. Right? If I'm writing to go into a battle, it would be different. If I'm writing to go into this, it would be different. There is something to approaching things very systematically, right? If you have all of this kind of nascent knowledge there, right? If you're coming in with, you've been practicing very intentional things, right? And then you can kind of suspend. There's a great jazz player by the name of Bill Evans, right? Jazz pianist, right? And he says, well, you learn all of this kind of classical training and all these different chord structures, and you learn all this static, you know, kind of stuff, and very, very academic, and you go through these standards and standards and standards and standards, standards. So these things become innate. And once they become innate, you can then collapse all that, and then you can create, right, freely. But you're creating from a space of education. You know, you're creating from a space of knowledge as opposed to creating just pure virtuosity, right? And so that idea of build up your basic skill sets, right? If you build these muscles, then no matter what you do, right, you'll already have edited your synapses would have already kind of built in certain ways where it's just been like, oh, we only do this. So if you build yourself just to because you can do that. You can build yourself to just do punchlines, right? And at the expense of what, though? Right? But you can do that. You can build a certain schema set that only makes this type of writing or that type of writing. But sometimes I do freestyle it out too, right? There is something to just top lining. I'm gonna get in the back of this place and show everybody what I can do with my face. I'm gonna smile and style and hold down the aisle and everybody. Maybe I'm gonna move into the South. Maybe I'm gonna go into Atlanta. Maybe I'm gonna hit them with the cameras and scanners and annas, right? So that's just like, got this top line, which is just these words, but a feel, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna find the words that match that. But if your vocabulary is this big, you're not gonna be able to do that. Right? So focus on the basics. Mastery of the basics is mastery, period. Right?
Thank you.
You got it. Yo.
Assalamualaikum, Lupe.
Peace.
Thank you for doing this. I'm not an MIT student. I'm studying film at Emerson, so the fact that it's open to public is really cool of you. So thank you. I have another writing question. I think we got a lot of writers in here, but all of your albums and songs feel like you build a world and then fill it with your ideas and thoughts. So do you build a world and then go from there and develop an album through that, or do you do it retroactively? Do you have specific song ideas and individual ideas you want to express to people and then build a world going backwards from there?
I mean, you're always gonna build a world, right? You're never not building a world, right? Or borrowing a world, right? And maybe colonizing different parts of that world, right? Rarely do I hear somebody building a world from scratch. I hear a lot of borrowing of worlds or invading of other worlds, right? So be cognizant of that. But with that said, as just kind of like a general framework, like, yeah, I start with a word that sounds good, right? Like paper tiger, right? I'm like, oh shit, paper tigers. Origami. Origami, that's Japan. Oh, but that's also these sharp edges. Ooh, okay. What else has sharp edges? Maybe that Radiohead album cover for Kid A Amnesia. Oh, then you start to populate just off that one word, right? But you want to start with something very strong, very visible, but also maybe something very mysterious. So it can become a surprising moment for somebody once you unfold that tiger and you realize it's the note that Eminem was writing back to Stan, right? And he didn't know what to do with it, so he folded it into a paper tiger and he put it on a thing, and it's like, oh shit, that's fucking crazy. Lupe combined all the songs and the talk together. That's so wow, right? So sometimes you build a world, sometimes you borrow somebody else's world. Like how I just borrowed Stan's world, right? But now I incorporated this idea into it to point it toward this culture, so now we can have this type of conversation, right? But that other world is still here. So instead of building a world, let's build a universe, right? Let's build a system, right? And that's kind of where I am. I want to build systems, interconnected things. But it also depends on what the project is. Drill Music in Zion, I need to record an album in 24 hours from scratch, right? The first record is going to decide. Or here's the title, cool, it's a little vague, but it sounds good, right? But it's from the Matrix. So if anything happens, we always got the Matrix, right? If anything happens, that's from the Matrix. Lupe, I don't understand what this means. Is this like Pac-Man or something like this? Like, it's from the Matrix. It's from the Matrix, right? And then you start to it's a time thing. It's not even about what I want to do. It's what I have to do if I'm going to meet this time limit, right? Kind of like this talk. But yeah, so it depends on what I'm trying to do at that time. Some records take a very long time. I'm still writing this record called Samurai, right? Which is the life of Amy Winehouse as a battle rapper, right? It's like, holy shit, right? But it's like, right? So it's a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to go. But do you understand all of them? Can you do all of them, right? as opposed to being aware of them. And then how many different paths do you have at your disposal? That's more important, right? Having multiple paths. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hey, salute. My name's Chris.
What's up, Chris?
First off, thank you, because Food and Liquor is the first album, or what in my household was the first secular album I bought.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, and it made me widen my perspective on what I perceive to be true, and made me look into a wider scope.
Mm.
And so I thank you for that, for sure, because I learned from Abu Ghraib from Gold Watch, everything that was on Gold Watch, from learning about what Heist the Body was to Hype Beast, just looking up the websites. So I appreciate you for that.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
But question I got is because, so I remember you did Japanese cartoon, and I remember Hello Goodbye had a real punk feel to it. And how early on did bands like, I assume Joy Division was one of your inspirations?
Yeah.
Queen. How early on did that inspire you and like affect your writing?
Punk music is always just aesthetically. Okay.
They're not going to turn the lights off, but our audio-visual support
will bounce.
Ends in 6 minutes.
Okay.
So we want to see if we can get to as many questions as possible, maybe about the shapes.
Indeed.
Rather than the details.
Delve in the details. See how you use that against me? Did you catch that? You see how you did that? Always been a fan of punk from a performative aspect to an aesthetic aspect, right? The energy of it, the vibe. I based my live shows, if not the music. Japanese cartoon is my punk. I have a punk band called Japanese Cartoon, where I sing in a British accent. And it's fucking hilarious. But more for the performative aspect. So my stage shows, a lot of that is pulled from Bad Brains and NERD and punk and Ian Curtis and like stuff like that, right? How they performed minimally without a lot of shit and was still able to put on an energetic show. And what does that take, right? So that's kind of like the cue for that, and what I kind of pulled from that genre in a direct way that you can see, right? Like when I'm on stage wilding the fuck out. Yeah, cool. Yo, we're gonna cycle through these things. We're gonna get shapes.
Good evening and thank you. Maybe I can keep mine brief with an invitation. You mentioned earlier how you can get more of this out there. I am a public school teacher.
Hey.
Just across the other side of Mass Ave in Arlington, so you can come on over anytime. Because what I was going to ask is both for the kids and for the teachers, definitely and especially the district in which I work, this is probably not the type of literature that is embraced. So I'm wondering how to maybe get more teachers to kind of cultivate this different type of poetry in their classroom. And also for the young kids that are dreaming of this being the next Lupe Fiasco, who have no time to pay attention to my English class. What message would you give them?
The message I would give to your English class directly is, without 1984, the book 1984, which I got in my English class, right? There is no Lupe Fiasco, right? Arguably, right? Because it was like, oh, you can tell a story like this and it has doublethink. This concept of doublethink, and in the end, at the back of 1984, there's a whole dictionary which defines like all the words that they were using in the book, and it was like a whole like weird like breakdown of it. I was like, oh my God, doublethink. Two ideas operating at the same time. Oh man, these bars, punchlines, metaphors. I need to have multiple, triple entendres, double entendres when I write raps. So it became a teaching moment, right? So it was, but I had to do that. Right? Nobody said that. Now that you know, you can see like, what are you interested in? My greatest teacher, his name was Mr. Kendrick, Mr. K, rest in peace. It was like, fuck all this, right? I'm gonna just give you this D so you can pass, so you can focus on what you wanna do, right? And I'm just here to empower and surround what you already are good at and what you want to do. So take this stuff, right? And then how can we apply it to what you already do? And it's meeting them where they are, right? And then at least for me, humbly, I would say. So just tell them like, hey man, you can rap about this, right? Because Lupe Fiasco said so. Appreciate you, but I will pay a visit, yeah? Absolutely.
I will email you.
For sure.
Hi, Lou. So I have a question. You mentioned the repetition break technique, and you listed 3 songs, but I'm curious if I have the wrong idea about that, because the first thing that came in my mind is He Say, She Say, and The Cool, because he comes back from the dead, goes back to the people that killed him. I was wondering why that wasn't listed, or if I just have the wrong concept.
Sometimes I forget my own songs. And I was trying to find the most obvious examples.
Oh, okay.
And that's why, but you're correct. You're correct.
Oh,
that
same thing?
frame is there. Sometimes it's there unconsciously, because that's just, we were taught to tell stories in a certain way, and we reference the stories that we know the most and are the most simple, right? So, but you're correct. It is in The Cool. It's in other songs as well, right? And sometimes it's reversed, right? It's about, how do we reverse that process where we actually start with the reveal, and then it becomes educate you after the fact, and then you're like, oh shit, that was a giant robot, right? Kind of deal. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mars. Yo.
Hello, Lupe. Nice to see you again.
Nice seeing you.
So I'll keep my question short. How do you think that we, like MIT students, like scientists, physicists, engineers, like what can we contribute to the rap scene or to the hip hop music or the culture?
Say that again, the first part.
Oh, what part? Like everything? Okay. So, what do you think that, say, us, like MIT students, like physicists, engineers, mathematicians, what can we contribute to?
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
wow. So one of the best rappers at MIT right now is a nuclear physicist.
Brincino?
His name's Alex. All he raps about is nuclear physics. Right? And I'm put him on blast. He came to me. He's a grad student. He went to Caltech and then came here for grad student. Right, Doc IT? All he raps about, all of his raps are about nuclear physics, right? And he gets, oh my God, right? But they're really fucking good. And he can perform them at length. He came and did a 5-minute thing, just kind of like, and I'm learning and excited and dancing and going crazy, and it was like, oh my God, right? So, it's how you approach it. Do you want to use it as a learning tool? Do you want to, think about it, and do you want to come up with a mathematical formula that represents this? Because the other part of these papers is there is a mathematical formula for a surprise, right? It's like, here's this delta sigma thingy with a zoopity zoop and a bobbity bop, right? And that's how surprise look if it was a mathematical equation, right? And that exists for everything. So maybe the support would be like, hey, take a look at what we do, the same way that you look at nanoparticles, right? And what do you see? And then come be in concert with us and come conversate with the rappers, right? And then we can give you what we see in you and in your field, and how we can say, hey, if you talked about it this way, or maybe if you approached it this way, maybe people will get it, right? Instead of saying like, what's the thing? In calculus, right? Just say a little bit of, right? Just say a little bit of. Like this dx over that's just saying a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Right? Cool? You good? All right, cool. Thank you.
So I tell you, this is going to have to be our last question, but before we take it, you noticed that you could hear everything that we were saying. So let's give it up
Round
for the
of
people in the
applause for the
booth
audiovisual
who made
guy.
that possible.
Right?
I'll have this one more.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the daughter of 2 professors over here.
Hey.
So that's why I'm here. I was wondering, I think you had an interesting point about like how current state of rap is like, can become devolving. There's like a lot of
Speak up again, I'm sorry.
I think you made like a really interesting point about how a lot of like current rap is sort of like devolving, like there's a lot of violence, etc. I was wondering if there are any newer like rappers that you feel like bring something new to the game and have been like interesting you?
New rappers. I mean, Alex here at MIT raps about nuclear physics. I mean, like, oh my God, right? Like, he's ridiculous and amazing and phenomenal. And he's like running a particle accelerator right now somewhere and writing raps about that shit. And I'm like, oh my God, right? When I look at rap, and this is something that's going to be relevant in the class, right? Is there's rap music, business rap, and Billboard and the charts and Spotify and all these other things. That is this much of rap. It is very, very tiny reflection of what rap is and who's doing rap and where. And I try and be tuned into all of it, right? And when you tune into all of it, even though that piece, the violence is there, and we can't shy away from that, right? All of the other things are there, the ills are there. But there's also a lot of not. You know, I meet a guy who everything he raps about is nuclear physics. I meet another guy, everything, and he doesn't even curse. D1 doesn't even curse in his raps at all, which is wild to me. You should curse, man. Listen, it's delicious, baby. So there's a range, and I don't want to pigeonhole, and I also don't want to just point out or limit you to think that what's available on Spotify, on the playlist, is the only thing that you have, and the only thing you have access to, right? Some of the best rap that you're ever gonna hear is the rap that you go out and find and discover, that you go out when they're doing an open mic at the Middle East, or they're doing a thing over at what have you, you know, or Cambridge Cypher is doing something or something like that, right? Like, that's where you're gonna see these moments in a context that'll really speak to you, right? Because there's something, yeah, you can listen to it in the iPod, and you can listen to it in this, and listen to it in that, or whatever. But there's something about discovering some random guy, you know, freestyling on the corner, you know? And it's just, wow, the way he incorporated, or she, or they, or them, or whomever, incorporated this little thing, and it was like, wow, that was really good. That's rap, and it counts, and it's valid, right? So yeah. And buy more Lupe Fiasco albums. He's great. I hear that guy's really good, you know? Maybe not, we'll see. But good.
Thank you.
You're welcome, appreciate the question. I'll wrap up, Doc. I do want to highlight my brother D1 here. Stand up, D. It's what is it, serendipity? Or like, it was meant to, what's that word? Yeah. It was serendipitous? That's good, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. How we arrived here in Cambridge on the same plane, not on the same airplane, but in the same time frame with the same mission. So while I'm here at MIT doing this, my brother D1 is a Nas fellow down at Harvard at the African American Institute, right? With Skip Gates and the other folks that are there, Professor Morgan. And so he'll be here for the year, just like I'll be here for the year. Hopefully we'll be here longer than a year, maybe, right, D? Maybe hey, you know. But D is down there doing amazing work, researching the relationship between hip hop and violence, hip hop and divinity, all these interesting layers and chambers that are of interest to him, and doing it at the highest levels at some of the highest and greatest institutions that America has to offer. So 2 boys who have been welcomed into the Cambridge family from our respective cities. D is from New Orleans, I'm from Chicago, on that same mission to kind of show hip hop in a different way, to show rap music in a different way and expose it to you in a different way. So just want to give you your flowers. And he just released a record called God and Girls 2, which he released not on streams. To your point, right? It's not on streams, right? You go to his website, you can download it for free, or you can pay $5,000 for it, because he's a...
Lupe paid $5,000.
Stop it, stop lying, man, stop lying.
You get to name your own price. Thank you, brother.
Name your own price. And then he's also doing more things at Harvard next semester and stuff like that, so make sure you tune in to my brother D1. So yeah. Lastly, thank you. Again, audiovisual, thank you guys for hanging in there for us. We appreciate it. Thanks to the staff here at MIT. Thanks to all the faculty for showing up. Really appreciate you. And we'll see you all Friday at the tournament over at Walker. Pull up. But we'll see you next time. Hopefully we'll have another symposium like this. And if for the students that are here, I have office hours all the time. I'm in building 14 on the 4th floor. So if you want to come kick the shit, you want to come play you want to come play some of your music for me, you want to come talk about nuclear physics, give me a book or anything like that, I am available at service to you here as long as my tenure lasts, okay? So appreciate y'all. Enjoy the evening. Try not to get wet. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
If I was suicidal, I still wouldn't kill myself because my parents worked too fucking hard to put me on the planet and raise me and feed me, working jobs day and night to put food in my mouth for my stupid ass to feel sad myself. And I have too much respect for my fucking family to do that shit. You wanna yourself, you have children to raise. You are selfish. I don't feel sorry for you 1%. You're a pussy. And if you were half a man, you'd take your suicidal feelings, shut the fuck up and raise your children anyway. Because men have duty. I wish to God I was suicidal. If I was suicidal, I'd have all the freedom in the world. I'd go to Mozambique tomorrow, become a mercenary. I don't give a fuck, shoot me. I could do anything. I could fucking base jump, fucking anything. I don't give a fuck anymore. What a superpower these people are throwing away.
Well, congrats to you tonight. I just want to note that once again, Donald Trump cost my party Senate seats. I was advising these same Georgia runoffs in 2020 when he lost those seats by, touting the election lies when it was Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Once again, he put his hand on the scale and put up a candidate who was highly unqualified, Herschel Walker, to be in the U.S. Senate. And so now we are in a position where we have to come around and realize we are losing under him. The fact that in Biden's economy, how poorly the country is doing, the fact that by and large voters, right, left, or center, say we're on the wrong trajectory, yet they're not voting for change. That since 1934, that they have not actually had a part incumbent not lose seats in the Senate. That is an indictment of the Republican Party. We need to wake up because we are losing the moment.
Can I just say something about voters here in this whole midterm election? We saw a lot of split tickets.
Yeah.
People were voting for candidates. They were not just voting up and down the line. They were taking a look at a candidate's character and experience and saying, you know, I want this person, you know, I'm going to vote for the Republican governor in New Hampshire.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a development in this country. You know, there are a couple of states that are famous for it, Montana being one of them, but it doesn't happen all the time in this country. And now, I think this is a great development. People are paying attention because the stakes are so high.
Can I say something? We keep talking about candidate quality.
Yeah.
And we only talk about it on the Republican side, saying they have negative candidate quality. But I just want to say, you know, Reverend Warnock is an extraordinary human being. He's recognizable in our community as somebody who was working hard for people when he wasn't famous, working hard for people when his name wasn't in lights, believing in these causes when they were not popular. And so he's somebody who, there's a resonance that he has with people. People believe him. And I don't want it to only be, you had a bad guy on the Republican side. You had a good man on the Democratic side, and that's important.
And he didn't change.
He didn't change.
He could have dragged Herschel Walker through the end zone.
Through the
bad, whatever.
Well, is that what do you call it?
But he could have dragged him. There was so much material, but he was a man of character.
That part.
And said, I know who I am, and I'm going to run the race to that. Now, I did,
I'm a negative ad.
They did run their fair share of negative ads. I mean, 50, 60, 70 million dollars in character smashing ads. So it wasn't a clean campaign.
It could have been a lot worse.
They did what they had to do. But I think on Van's point, one thing I learned about this entire election, people with personal brands, apart from somebody else, did well in both parties. Warnock had a brand apart from politics. But the Kemps and the DeWines and the DeSantises and the Abbotts and the Republican Party, they didn't depend on Donald Trump or some other person to define who they are. And I do think this ticket splitting, Gloria, there's something about being able to define and own who you are that people are responding to. Right. They don't want you to be a wholly owned subsidiary of some other person or thing. They just want you to be who you are. And Warnock, I think, got that right in this race. Walker got tagged with Trump, and the candidates in these Senate races that got tagged that way with Trump all across the board lost. And that's a big lesson for the next cycle.
Every Republican in this country ought to hold Donald Trump accountable for this. And I think the part that bothers me the most, and I've spent a lot of time trying to dissect this, is that Donald Trump, it's not out of ignorance or miscalculation. It's out of selfishness. He's not picking these candidates because he thinks it's good for the country or the party. He gave up caring about this country when he lied about the election. He cares about himself, and these candidates that he's picking are pawns. And he's playing a serious game, and he's costing us an economy. As a Republican, I'm watching a crumbling economy. I'm watching a foreign policy. I'm watching a border. These are things I care about for my future and my kids' future. That's why we're all in this game. And we need to hold Donald Trump accountable, and I hope sooner than later he's in the rearview mirror. We need to use this as a pivot point for us to move forward with a GOP 2.0, or call it what you want. We need a new direction that allows us to capitalize on the shortcomings.
And very well said, and I think that I just want to issue the word of caution that we have seen Donald Trump come back from the ashes many times. You know, he did poorly in these midterms, the insurrection, he comes back and is the leader of the party. It needs to be a wake-up moment. The way that you believe in Raphael Warnock, I want candidates on the Republican side that I believe in that way, and that is just not who we put up in some of these races. So it's time to have that moment of, are we going to keep losing with Donald Trump, or are we going to move on?
You know, the Trump strategy was that the waters would part for him after the midterm elections. And of course, just the opposite has happened.
Yeah.
Not to mention his legal problems, not to mention throwing aside the Constitution, et cetera, et cetera. If Republicans don't have the guts to separate, if not divorce, at this point, I mean Republicans in leadership roles, not rank and file, I mean people leading, then there's a problem. There's a good group of candidates out there, as you were talking about, Scott. The question is where the followers are going to be, and I think followers want to win. If they believe in what the Republican Party stands for, they want to win.
Party leaders, by the way, we've done this historically. Republican Party leaders need to come together and decide how much do we want to lose, or are we willing to band together? And by the way, not run 15 or 20 people in 2024. Put our money and our efforts behind a couple of people who can actually beat him.
But you're going to have to be honest with the voters. And you're going to have to say that Donald Trump lied to them. And that means that at times you lied to them too. And I don't know if many Republicans and leaders are going to actually want to do that.
Well, on the Democrats, we should just let that just hang. Just hang. That was a mic drop.
There's a difference between want to and need to, right? People might not want to say that they made a mistake and they followed down a rabbit trail about an election fraud and conspiracy theories and all their different nuances in their states, but we need to. To heal and rebuild this party, we need to move past Donald Trump and call it for what it is. It was a mistake, and we need to move on.
But so many the prominent Republicans in the Senate who once opposed Donald Trump, sold their souls in order to curry favor.
And so,
how do they bounce back from that?
We've been talking about redemption and grace, and I believe in all of that, but this is still politics, right? And so people,
what does that have to do with redemption and grace?
No, but people
I want to talk about our party then.
I just don't think people are, the seas haven't parted, but they haven't also drowned Donald Trump. And it's because folks are not sure on where they want to fall. And the truth telling that is going to have to happen around why Donald Trump was able to get these type of candidates to win in primaries and why he was able to get a mob of people to come on January 6th requires some real honesty that I don't know exists in the Republican leadership. Maybe it does. I'm hopeful. For my country, I'm hopeful, but I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, he talked about terminating the Constitution a couple of days ago, and there's still a lot of...
I've lived through all these undulations, and you're right, he has come back. I'm telling you, in the last month, something has changed.
Yep. It does feel different.
Something has changed, and you've had a number of people in Washington, but you've got people out in the middle of the country saying, you know what? I'm glad he was there. I like what he did. I voted for the man. I knocked on doors, but I don't want to lose anymore, and I'm tired of carrying this guy's bags. And this has been one of the worst months of his political life. I'm telling you, something has changed, and that's what primaries are for. You're right. That's what primaries are for.
Hi, Claire.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Hi. This is my husband, Phil.
Hi.
And that's my son, Luke, right there. This is...
Desiree.
Desiree,
Oh,
right,
hi.
sorry. Desiree just moved in down the block.
Fun. Where?
314.
Oh, the 2-bedroom cottage with the indoor-outdoor family room.
Very good. How
Bet
did
you're
you-
loving that steam shower.
Phil, it's creepy.
Oh, sorry. I'm a real estate mogul. What? No, I am a real estate agent. We caravan that house. Great deck.
Thanks. I'm just there till my divorce is final.
Now, who is coconuts enough to divorce you?
We gotta go. But we'll see you around.
Well, we'll have to have you over sometime.
I'd love it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. She's awesome.
No, we are never having her over. Heard she already slept with 2 dads from the school.
What? That's horrible.
So we were supposed to go to a supercar rally and travel around Europe, but instead, time has come to leave you two losers behind once and for all. I want you both to know that as the person who spends the most time with both of you, there's absolutely nothing likable about either one of you. You're both disgustingly unlikable, ignorant, stupid, selfish, ugly people on the inside and out. I despise you both. The world would be better if you didn't exist. If you never existed. The best thing you can do for humanity right now is for both of you to kill yourselves.
Well, I don't like you either.